G'day everyone and welcome to this week's edition of the Melbourne Punters Show. As usual, I'm joined by Darren Potter,
Jockey,
and Dan Kelly.
Jockey.
DK, how are you, mate?
I'm well.
And we're back after a little bit of a hiatus, mainly because, well, there's been a few things happening, but there's been no shortage of meetings.
there's been plenty of race meetings, Jockey. I had a day off yesterday, which I basically just decided in the morning I wasn't going to do any work, and I lied down and I slept for about 9 hours in the middle of the day. So I obviously needed a break, and looking back at my results last week for my full sets were pretty good, but my contribution to the DK and Pots last week was abysmal. So sorry, mate. Sorry for letting the team down a little bit there. I had a good week the week before.
You carried me the week before, so that's sort of, mate, when we both get it right, it's going to be fat.
It is, yeah. So, I mean, fortunately for our subscribers, we've won 6 out of 8 weeks, but we should have done a bit better last week. But I'll be back on top of things this week. So.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
over the next couple of weeks, just having a look at the draws going forward, it looks like we do get somewhat of a bit of a chocolate. After sort of tomorrow, I know next week there's the midweek meetings at Ballarat, so it makes it a little bit easier once the workload sort of quietens down there, because we have had a real thick period of it.
Would have been. I mean, there's Sunday meeting at Ballarat just gone.
Yeah.
It was 5 horse fields.
Yeah.
How's it happening? And again yesterday at Mildura, 4 horse, 5 horse, 6 horse fields. I mean,
it's just a reflection, and when you have too much racing, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Things are right out.
Yeah, you maybe think of Mildura being far away, and then 30% Adelaide horses coming across the border for $20,000 maidens anyway when they're racing for 10.
And Weir always takes a truckload up there.
Yeah.
And well, then there was the one yesterday, the $3 into $1.36 during the day, and he just decided that he was going to go bush at the home turn, and
locked his jaw and ended up against the outside fence, didn't he? So
what about the punters?
if he might have needed a trial, that was a public trial.
Yeah.
I mean, good job. Anyway.
Well, at least we could see that he probably had bad manners. But that was one thing. I went to Ballarat on Saturday, and I compared that back to they had a Wednesday meeting. It was still just a provincial standard meeting a couple of weeks ago, and the turnover on that meeting compared to that Wednesday meeting would have been half probably, and a lot of it was to do with the small fields. So it just shows that we have had a lot, especially after you run 10 races at Mornington, including that glorious 3,400 metre staying race to start the card, which Ralphie's been slightly critical of.
I meant to mention that we're missing Ralphie, and he's let me know where he is.
Yeah, that's right.
He's down the track a bit. He's in training on the beach, going as hard as he can, because he thinks he's a chance of running a place or even winning one of these 4,000 metre staying races. So Ralph's going to enter himself.
Well,
I don't know what weight he'll get, but he reckons he's a chance.
Put the hurdles up and just call them jumps races. I mean, fair dinkum. And especially when you're running a million horses on that track, on a 10 race card, they didn't need that race.
It's quite an underwhelming start to that, too.
Yeah.
I know they're trying to get rid of it out of the way early before the real betting starts, but it's quite an underwhelming start to the day, I would have thought.
Well, surely
they got away with it, but them horses are going to do 2 laps around the inside section of the track. That's just asking for trouble, and they got away with it. So anyway.
Look, it would have been a good race to put on tomorrow's card at your favourite Pots, Ladbrokes Park.
Ladbrokes Park.
Yeah.
They're back there again on Saturday too, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
The Flemington meeting, they got moves there.
Right,
yeah. So hopefully Flemington's better.
So we're going to do things in all sorts of crazy order today. Juppy's just introduced it. I want to get out of the way. I've got a friend of mine, he's a client, has been for a long time. You won't meet a nicer, more honest, straight bloke. Works in the finance industry, so he's a busy guy. Gets up early, gets home late, got a family, got kids. Loves punting. His dad took him out to the races when he was a young bloke to watch Manicato, and he fell in love with it.
Oh, similar to me.
Yeah.
And his son's at the age where he'd start taking him to the track, and even now he puts all of his bets on a Saturday morning. He gets my set and a few others, Johnny Walters and that sort of thing. He also bets on the footy and stuff. Then he just grabs his dad and goes down to the pub and watches the races. You know what I mean? Like, one of the accounts he's got with Ladbrokes, and he said, seriously, Potts, the biggest bet I'd have in it on a horse would be $30. And the biggest bet I've had in there in the last 3 months was on a line bet in a football game, so $1.90, and it was $90. And he came home from the pub 2 Saturdays ago just to check the balance of his account, and couldn't access their Ladbrokes account. They'd shut it on him. You know, just like really, like I say to Andrew Twaits and to Bernard Saundering, I mean, at the end of the day, I know they're not licensed in your jurisdiction, but you've got the Racefield legislations to hit these guys, and they're sponsoring your track that we're going to be betting on tomorrow. Is that how you want your customers to be treated? And Andrew, I'm more than happy to put you in contact with Greg. They basically accused him of having a bowler account. Like, why would you have a bowler account for $30 bets? But they basically accused him of that. And he wrote back to them and said, look, because of the minimum bet rules in New South Wales, you have to bet me on the New South Wales races at least. So I want you to reopen my account. And they sent him back this long list of stuff to re-verify his account, and most of which he'd already done previously. And they want him to register his devices and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh, they did all that extra yard.
I did all that. Yeah.
They almost send you to the doctor for a full health check.
Colonoscopy.
Yeah.
Jockey.
Oh well, it's a drive-by colonoscopy as it is.
So we're talking about a guy that is dead honest. He takes his dad to the pub on a Saturday afternoon. He puts his bets on. He with this account, they're under $50. And they have shut his account. He couldn't even go in and see the balance of it at the end of the day. I mean,
that's the thing that annoys me.
That is just, it just makes me sick to my stomach. Yeah. So anyway, if anyone from Racing Victoria wants to talk to Greg, I'll be only too happy to provide you with his details. Because he's livid, and particularly being basically accused of having fraudulent bets on his account, which is absolutely not true.
No, it's wouldn't really
and
we're going to put up with a Bet365 Thursday night. Racing ads shoved down our throat now starting this week. I same thing. Dad took me when I was young to Moonee Valley. It was the closest track to home. We come down. It was just great. Driving in under the track, up to the big grandstand, sat there and watched Strawberry Road win. All the great horses through those mid-80s, and when I fell in love with racing, and now when I walk into the track now, I just get bombarded with William Hill, billboards slapped all over the joint, and I can't even get a $5 bet on there. So,
and but it's no different if you're watching the race. The footy's the same. I'm sorry, I don't know whether I've just tuned out of it or not, but someone then pointed it out to me. They said, just watch the footy broadcast, and it's just...
Well, there's been a lot of press about that. So the Fairfax media have been, and Carol, I think, wrote an article, and there's been about 3 or 4 late in the week. I mean, one every day about the saturation advertising and whatnot. So it'll be interesting Wednesday. So I don't know when the review's coming from Canberra. It must be soon.
No, it's not before the election, I don't think now, they said. Because I know that's when they were going to look at... Because that's one thing that a lot of the sport punters have been talking to me about, that they're really worried, and so they should be, because if they do ban the offshore, betting with the offshore companies, I know everyone will find a workaround for it, but the whole floor will fall out of the market. Because A, most of the corporates get scraping the prices off Pinnacle and whatnot, and B, they're half betting back with them and doing that sort of stuff, and all the joint boys are betting there. So if they take that away, I'm not sure what's going to be left in the sport market, because there's only a handful that know how to price it up properly.
I mean, we reckon we do it hard. Mate said the other day tried to have 500 on I think a rugby union line Australia were playing, whatever it was, $2 or $2.20. With a joint who bets him to win 1,000 on the races and all this sort of stuff, but he gets on and no zero, and turn the price off.
I know some guys
can't have a monkey. That's on sports. I mean, we're blind.
It's just funny, isn't it?
Nothing.
I don't understand.
And then so he wants to back it, so we'll turn it off.
I just want to say to all the corporates out there, if anyone's watching from corporate land, it's not that easy to win. It's not like every bet we have wins. You know what I mean? Like, we miss the target, we have bad runs. You'd be far better off betting us. If you can use the information however you want to use it. It just doesn't make sense to be restricting people that just want to bet.
And we've got plenty of mates that are still in the Giants, and we're not having a pop at them at all, because they understand the frustration. If it was up to them, they would be betting.
Yeah, no, it's the business model.
It's the higher ups.
It's saturation advertising to find as many $20 mug clients as we can, and weed out anyone who can win, and then we'll send. What does Sportsbet send back to Ireland this year? 178 million back to Paddy Power offices for the profit. So I mean, obviously they're doing a great job. Obviously they've got the well-oiled machine, but that's why price, because they get massive profits, mate.
Well, hopefully they might take some learnings out of what happened to William Hill recently over in the UK, because they ran a big promotion during the big Cheltenham Festival.
Just the bonus bets thing?
Yep.
Yeah, right.
And I think it cost them £4 million, and they managed to get a thumping 500 new accounts out of it. And how many of those 500 accounts would actually be genuine would be... I would say that would be less than 10% would be actual genuine accounts, because people that would have accounts would either still have them or they'd be barred, and all it is a new bowler coming in. So it's hopefully they can if they just drop off a bit and then give us the minimum bet rule, it'll just make everything a lot easier for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Not asking for the world. We don't want to be able to just run rampant. We just want to be able to see a horse at a decent price, ring up and back at the win 2,000 or 3,000, and then if they turn it off, that's fine. You know what I mean?
Or if you are struggling to get set, come and join me out on course 4 or 5 times a week. There's lots of fun. There's banter. There's a good half a dozen of us there, and it's banter, but that's all that's left. But you will get set.
I'm just looking at the results from Mornington here in front of me, Jumpy. It was a funny kind of. I'm not sure what all this form's going to mean as far as Saturday racing in the next couple of weeks is going to be, because there's going to be a lot of form turning up at Sandown from everywhere else but Sandown. I suppose there has been some midweek meetings at Sandown, but I suppose Bendigo feeds into Sandown okay. Not sure about Mornington, but anyway, obviously they've run enormous time in the Mornington Cup, so
Of a small sample, Of a small sample.
Just there, but I'm saying even comparing to the 2,000 metre race on the same day, so that
just had the foot down the whole way.
The horses in the 2,400 metre race would have won the 2,000 metre race by about 15 lengths. That's hilarious. I mean, the gap between them, right, between a 2,000 metre race and a 2,400 metre race should be a minimum of 24 seconds, but it's usually more like 26, and can be as much as 30 depending on, you know.
Yeah, tempo, yeah.
But it's 21 seconds difference. So
Wow.
the 2,000 metre horses have gone almost 20 lengths slower than the 2,400 metre horses, which is just funny. And Tarquin's run pretty good figures, but he got a pretty good card into that race, so I'm sort of don't know what you do with that form.
Yeah, I reckon, yeah, I'm even on maidens and things and on normal Mornington meetings, they can, is it real? A lot of those times, I mean, there was a maiden 6 months ago where they all broke it, if you believe the time, they'd all broken the course record. 4 horses, first 4 across the line. So it just had to be peeled back, you know, so there's just, I'm not saying all, but just, I'm just wary of Mornington. I would err on peeling it back rather than sticking with what's there, because it's a funny circumference track and things like that. I think it's a bit, you know, and I treat it as a weaker venue, say, than Bendigo and Ballarat. As a normal venue, I know this was different, standalone, but I'd rate them a bit lower. The horses don't seem to kick on as much. But
I think the best form race out of the day, the one that will be useful, is the Prussian Vixen race. That was a really good solid test throughout. I think there's some good runs in that race. And
geez, I watched it Stoker. Was that the one?
Oh yeah.
I mean, the tempo got home late was a bit one with acceleration late in the race with a few others out their feet. But gee whiz,
he's a funny horse though. He's 15 starts, 1 win. He's got a few big
Flashing
wins.
light there.
He's not the sort of horse that you can trust. I think Vorspiel's gone particularly well.
Still in
His first prep. Yeah.
We're back to McCall. It's our first winner my first winner for the set.
Yeah.
We've been going how long? 6-7 weeks.
8 weeks. So that's a while ago.
He's
He's done a good job. That was a good run. And there was another run in that race. Just be lucky, I think.
See, another good camp. No, that's Dan Bowman.
Oh, Dan Bowman, is it? Yeah, it's one of them.
But it's good camps. Just keep lecturing myself. I've got to stick with these good camps.
Yeah.
I mean, we backed one at Warrnambool the other day. That radioactive. There was one query horse in the race. Was a Carmel size horse. First start for Dan Bowman, and it's like ours. Just beat it that far, you know. Like he improved it. And Mick Kent, I mean, just every day, he's just airball the joint, you know.
And Radioactive's gone really well, and that horse has really chased after it.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got wins in them ahead down the track.
Well, Dan Bowman's someone I think we're going to have to keep our eye on come to May Carnival, because there could be some horses that are primed right up for that meeting at local at home. And the other thing to come out of Mornington, Ralphie mentioned on Twitter, and he's been mentioning it for the last couple of years, if they're going to run these Saturday meetings at these provincial joints, have to get the sectional times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Properly. Whether they get Vince to do it or whether they
should be up the next day at least.
Yeah. It
has to be. Can get these done Saturday night or first thing Sunday morning and have them in. So
we're treating this as a Saturday meeting. You've got it.
I've reviewed those meetings, and I'll have to go back and revisit them when I get the sectional times.
Yeah,
you know. So you sort of do what you can.
Yep, do what you can, but then you go back. But it's still 70% not set in stone, isn't it?
No, exactly.
And the other thing, you come out of Saturday, DK, like you paddle around in some of these smaller meetings. Have you seen a lower quality meeting than what Werribee dished up on Saturday? It, to my eye, appeared to be slightly better than Healesville.
It would be. There was a really beast, even though it's Werribee.
Yeah, it was
virtually a could have been at Edenhope that meeting.
Yeah, 5 maidens, 3.058.
And the high weights.
Yeah.
So, which is alright, the jumps jockeys have got to get their practice in and these horses have got to get going for their... So I don't mind them, so the high weights, but we started with 2 high weights, then I think a 2-year-old,
Yeah.
then a couple of maidens, and then benchmark 58s.
It
So
was-
it's a real... But that's it's either something... I mean, at least we've got a meeting.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
provincial meeting on a Saturday, a P2 meeting, because some of them have been brassing them and, they've killed off a Sunday, a weekend meeting to give Pakenham these Thursday night, extra meeting on Thursday night, so there's only... Ballarat was the only meeting on Sunday,
yeah.
and there was 2, and then, sometimes they're running Saturdays only, no provincial, so...
It's been a while now that we've had the Thursday nights at Pakenham, so we get the feel for it. I don't know what you guys think, but it's making it hard work. You're having a really long day Thursday,
Yeah.
a really long day Friday with a Friday night meeting.
Yeah.
By the time you get to Saturday, you're absolutely buggered. You know,
Yeah.
and it's hard to. I'm not looking forward to the Saturday meetings as much as I used
Yeah,
to. So.
well, that's right. I've got 2 meetings on a Thursday, 2 meetings on a Friday now for me,
Yeah.
and generally, but at least they've come off the weekend a bit, so... But they're busy days, trying to get form done for 2 joints.
And I think going forward, that's something they're going to have to look at for the industry-wise, is go, even if they all do like they do during the summer with Meadowvale and Cranbourne, if you go 1 week on, 1 week off, and just interchange between the other thing I'm worried about is them flogging the ringer out of Pakenham, because it's a great track.
I saw a shot down the back at the Weaning on last Thursday, and it looked like a bowling green.
Yeah.
So I know you're saying that, but they must just grass.
They've done it right.
They've just done it right. The recuperative powers and whatever they've done, it looked like a bowling green.
All they need now is some trees around it, because it did blow a gale out there the other day. I'm not looking forward to Thursday night.
I don't know, as you said, we're getting better samples, we're getting better feel of the distances, we can feel of the track, we're testing track and things like that. And we did get a couple of winners there last week.
Yeah.
But it was one of the real first meetings I really got there with confidence. So I've got a handle on this joint now. You know what sort of horse it takes to win, and things like that. So and I don't know if it's so much wind affected now. So it might have been just my paranoia and not having a handle on it early.
Well, the interesting thing about that track is they don't give us sectional times. We get them at least a week in delay, and the races there are run at massive differences. You know what I mean? You can get
There are the walks or...
like the 1200 metre races there last week. So in Thinker Lights race was the first starter, they ran 1:11.8, and in Northern Models race, which was the benchmark 70, I think, for the mares, they've run 1:13.74, almost 2 seconds, almost 12 lengths slower.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So without the sectionals, you can't really. It's hard to think. You know, like you just
it's a
don't.
barrier trial.
Yeah.
Isn't it? You don't know what the breakups are.
No, and even Sharif, who's a handy sort of horse, and that was a 64, ran 1:12.7. It's almost 5 lengths slower than 10 Tat Charger. So
you'll be careful not to get them up too high and get the other ones have them too low. It's you really need the sectionals. But I wonder why they didn't put in some sort of timing there.
that's interesting.
I can't understand it.
Blank canvas. You would have thought they'd have put in a mega timing or something.
Yeah.
That's strange.
And especially if they've got aspirations, because they've said, like, we want to host Pakenham Cup Day on a Saturday and have it as a standalone meeting. Well, I don't think anyone has got any qualms about a Saturday meeting being in a joint like that, because the track's so good.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't matter whether it was rain, hail, shine or whatever, but you had the chance to put it in. Even when you were putting the lights in, you could have put it in. So, I suppose also the other thing we've got coming up there is I can't remember whether it's next week or the week after, the synthetic kicks off back there again for some of them. We're sort of, I know there's a turf meeting at Geelong this week, and I think there might be one more turf meeting, and then we get into the synthetic circuit. But there's one horse that I think I'm going to be keen to follow that we backed there at Pakenham Boys, that Damien Lane rode. What was the thing?
Concubine?
Was that the thing that absolutely killed him?
Yeah, 100 yards. God bless it.
Well, but just what about that race at Geelong, honestly? DK probably can't talk about it, but he found a horse there, a really, really good bet at, 2 to 1 plus Atlantic Road. And it's absolutely run out of its skin. It's run a tremendous race with Concubine, who was the well-back favourite, 3 lengths astern. And this first starter from a stable I don't even know, with a jockey, I don't think it had any sort of jockey on it.
Yeah, it had Albion on it.
Has got, it had Fry on it, did it?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
So that's why this was Tricky Camp and J Fry. It was Andrew Lane.
There was support for it.
Valstar it was called.
But this horse, Velstar, is a horse to follow.
Yeah,
and I'm just going to say
I'll say that now, because we'll go to that later. that is our horse to follow.
Well, it's a good segue, DK. Let's talk about Jay Fry and some of these other countries.
Yeah, well, Jay Fry, yeah, well, he rode Radioactive for us, and I was really, he don't make many blues, and he's happy to make the race a test if he knows he's on a good, horse going forward that's got good form. He's had ridden it, lets it run well. It's last start. He will make it a test. He's not scared to make it a test, and he got diggerised in that race at Warrnambool last week. We were with him, and he still kicked clear and made it. So something's going to have to make up 4 lengths on me to run me down. So Jay, and I put on Twitter, well done, Jay Fry. A couple other blokes come back, we love him, He's one of these, just an underrated jockey, but he doesn't make many blues and he rides a lot of winners.
And I reckon he's a fantastic jockey. And I would just say to him, if he watch the show or someone tips him into the show, that when you come to town, mate, don't change a thing. There's too much of a temptation for some of these country jockeys that don't get many rides in town, that when they come to town, all of a sudden they try and change their game and be all cute and fancy. And it happens to some of the kids too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's the way to win races. Joe Fry, you're a tradesman, mate. Just when you get a good ride in town, just come to town and do that, and you'll before you know it, you'll be getting more rides.
Horse probably be on the Radioactive, or one of those up and comers. I mean, Mitch Friedman puts him on, and Bowman, I think, and a few other Warrnambool trainers, and
all he's got to do is keep doing what he's doing. That's all we.
That's what I wanted to punish, because I just knew that horse the other day. He'd be forward. He'd make it a test, which is what I wanted, because I was out of a fast race previously and everything. So, and he rode it. I mean, he got diggerised, but he rode it perfectly. And really happy to back Jay Fry.
And there's plenty of meetings sort of out wide that where he'll be getting rides at too.
He's a hard worker. He's a traveller.
Another country jockey doing a good job is Robbo. Craig Robinson.
I've had a love-hate relationship with Robbo since he got what was that horse of Nigel Blakiston's that just retired. Anyway, it was Caulfield Couples, Melbourne Couples.
What's Sylvia?
No, anyway, I can't remember. Anyway, I backed it at $4 in a Class 1 at Seymour, and somehow got beat. 2 runs later, I was winning a Group 2. But no, Robbo, I'm happy to. I watch him every day, Robbo, and he doesn't make many blues either. He obviously does his form. Knows what horses to follow in the race. That's all we ask, Be confident. Know what's around you, and if you're on the best horse, make it a test. So he doesn't make many blues, Robbo.
Not the search for the all important cover. I mean, I can't even remember who wrote "Tis My View" last week, but honestly, it's in that.
Bastard.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's why I backed. I thought he'd go forward, so he probably was riding to instructions. So it's probably not Steve's fault. But honestly, they run 2 seconds slower than the maiden, and they are on a horse that could easily be on pace, wallowing out the back, and then you're running a nice race. Anyway.
But also,
and whoever rode Fiona McCool, well, I think again probably riding the instructions.
But if you're putting decent riders on, why are you burdening them with just ridiculous instructions? I mean, it makes no sense. If you're putting Bastra on some of these guys, why would you? Look, if you're putting Oliver on, you're not going to give him instructions.
You should. I wouldn't think. I think the jocks these days are. They brought up the kids coming through. They're taught how to do the form. Give them roughly what they give them a rough. And don't fry their brain with overload with instructions. They've done their form. They know which horses to follow. The good jocks and the capable ones. So
absolutely. So at Bendigo last week, there was 2 2,200 metre races. One a maiden, the other one a benchmark 64. Rushmore ran 2 minutes 19 and a half. In the benchmark 64, they went 2:23 and a half. 4 seconds. Phil McCool's back getting all important cover. Seriously.
No, that's anyway, it's a bone, but anyway, that's what they're paid to do. If you've got things going forward that you think going forward, but not guessing going forward, that's when we have our best results.
Absolutely.
They're forward regardless of the tempo.
If you're on a fit horse, a horse that's got a good chance, ride it assertively, ride it with intent. That means so much. Momentum. Don't get caught in the box seat and slowly run races. Michelle Payne on St Swithins, and allow yourself to have no momentum at the key part of the race. You probably would have run second anyway. So not making excuses for us backing the wrong horse, but that was not that you had the outside lead spot at your mercy, and you gave it up and allowed the 2 horses that went in front of you to get there without earning it.
And one of them was 70-1, wasn't it?
I
think across.
And there's one other thing I want to bring up from Sunday, boys, at Ballarat. I was there working away, and there were 2 horses that were absolutely truckloaded. There was Fife, which we were on, and I don't know whether it's those colours for Smurden, but they're either absolute stars or they're just absolute squibs.
They're all back.
And there is just unlimited for them. And the other one was the thing of Patrick Payne's that Steve Arnold rode in about race 3. It was 3:60 in the morning, and it was just 2:20.
That was the first start, a day of rest.
Day of rest, that was ours. And there was
again back because that's a Carrots Price, David Price horse from Hong Kong.
Yeah,
he'll be trying to win his first start. You know, so
yeah,
a big offence to get it to Hong Kong. You know, so it was there to, you know.
It was just, I couldn't believe the business for it. It was like, just whatever you want, top flight and say, keep it down because we've got an absolute untold fortune for it for both of those horses.
Yeah, well, I mean, the cut's coming through. They'll be coming through the right avenue as well. Sort of betting joints associated with those horses.
And it sort of did Fife.
But they're 5-4 both of them in the end, weren't they?
Yeah, and but Fife sort of he loomed up and you thought he was there, and then 100 out he just sort of got the stitch.
He's a nice horse. I mean, Potts liked him, but I didn't do the race, but I didn't know his maiden win was really sound.
I backed him. She was a filly off the maiden win, and I just improved her too much. She didn't really improve.
Yeah,
and I quite like the Weir horse. Don't make me talk about it.
That's right.
I'm so filthy on myself.
You went the Quinella option instead of having something on. Was Blinker's first time too, the Weir
exactly, you know, but it was 5:50 in the morning. It wasn't that much of an overlay, but then it got out to ridiculous.
That's the difficult thing with doing the tips at 10 or 11 in the morning. You are sort of somewhat dictated to by the prices that are sitting there at 130%. You sort of you think the script's going to go one way, but I mean, if you tip at 5.50 and you've got to make $5, but then it's running $8.50 or $9.
$11 the tote. The best tote.
And I think they set a new record there in that race for the longest frivolous protest in the history of the game, because that protest went for a good at least 10 minutes, and there was never any hope. Like, the margin was just too great for him to uphold the protest for the amount of interference there was. And I know if, and I hate mentioning him on the show, but if our boy Doltz had been in the room, it would have been thrown out in about 30 seconds, and the rider would have been given a fine for a frivolous protest. Potts, you've got some show and tell.
Let's go to part 2, Jockey.
All right, we'll have a break and we'll come back.